for making two harsh decisions after my mother-in-law demanded my $85,000 salary? The air in the grand ballroom at the Hilton in downtown Chicago smelled of lilies and anticipation. Natalie, adjusted the veil of my dress. A smile plastered on my lips. Across the table, my new mother-in-law, Janice, raised her glass of sparkling wine. Her smile was a razor's edge. "Dear everyone," she began, her clear voice cutting through the murmur. "Today we celebrate not just a union, but the arrival of a new daughter into our family." Her gaze landed on me. It was heavy. And as in any family, order must be established. Things must be clear from the very beginning. Tyler, my husband, squeezed my hand under the table. He knew that look. Janice set down her glass. "Natalie, dear, you have a good job. $7,000 a month, Tyler told me. A very modern software engineer." A whisper went around the table. My parents, seated further down, stiffened. "A strong family," Janice continued, "is based on unity on a single common fund, for expenses, for the future, for the house." She took a dramatic pause. "That is why, starting this month, your entire salary will come to my account. I have managed it my whole life. I know how to manage better than anyone." The silence was absolute. You could hear an ice cube clink at the bar. Tyler cleared his throat. "Mom, maybe this isn't the time." "It's the perfect time," she interrupted, her eyes never leaving me. Her smile had vanished. "It's a tradition. The woman of the house manages the assets, and here that woman is me. If you want me to call you daughter, if you want to truly be part of this family, things must be done right. The full salary. The $85,000 a year, understand?" My friends Rachel and Allison had their mouths open. The officiant who had married us 2 hours earlier looked down at his plate. I felt all eyes on me. Anger was a block of ice in my chest, but my smile never wavered. I held it with sheer willpower. I looked at Tyler. His expression was one of panic, of a silent plea. "Don't make her angry," his eyes seemed to say. "Just say yes for now." I looked at Janice. Her challenge was absolute. She had thrown down the gauntlet at my own wedding, in front of all of Chicago. Slowly, I let go of Tyler's hand. I stood up. Everyone held their breath. I raised my glass, the one filled with a Napa Valley Cabernet. The light from the chandelier glinted off the glass. Janice exhaled triumphantly. A victorious smile appeared on her lips. Some guests, those from her side of the family, seemed to relax. They nodded. "The girl knows how to yield. She's sensible," they must have thought. Tyler closed his eyes for a moment, relieved. I scanned the room. I saw my mother's worried face, the contained anger in my father's, and then I spoke. My voice did not tremble. It sounded as clear and cold as crystal. "Thank you, Janice, for your advice." I took a sip from the glass and set it on the tablecloth with a sharp thud. "Your request has made me reflect, and I have made 2 decisions." Janice's smile froze. "First," I said, projecting my voice, "my salary will not go to any personal account, not mine, not anyone's. It will go into a trust fund. A trust will be in the name of our future children, if we have them, and will only be used for their college education. Neither Tyler nor I will be able to touch it. An attorney will manage it." A murmur of disbelief. Janice turned pale. "And second," I continued, turning to Tyler, "my husband looked at me as if he didn't know me. Since we're talking about pooling salaries and doing things as a family, it seems only fair." "No, darling," Tyler couldn't form a word. "Therefore," I concluded, turning my gaze back to Janice, "to be completely fair and equitable, your son, my husband Tyler, will, starting tomorrow, hand over his entire salary to my mother for her to manage. She's a retired pharmacist. She also has a lot of experience with administration. That way we'll have a perfect balance. Both mothers at the helm. A renewed tradition." The silence that followed was physical, crushing. Janice looked like she had stopped breathing. Her face went from white to a furious red. Tyler was livid. "Natalie, for God's sake, what have you said?" Janice's voice was a choked shriek. My father, at the back of the room, brought a hand to his mouth, but his eyes were shining. "Things clear, Janice." "Just as you asked," I replied, keeping my voice calm. "I found your proposal so good that I decided to extend it so no one feels left out. Janice jumped to her feet. The chair screeched against the marble floor. This is a lack of respect, a mockery. It's logic, I retorted, still seated. If my money is the family's, so is your son's. Or are the rules only good for me? Tyler stood up. Enough. Both of you. Natalie, Mom, please. But it was too late. The wedding banquet was over. The guests looked at their plates, uncomfortable. Some hid a smile, others, Tyler's uncles, muttered among themselves, furious. Janice shot me a look that could have shattered the diamond on my ring. You are not welcome in my house, she spat. Then turning, she stormed out of the room with a furious clatter of heels. The party deflated in a matter of minutes. The band tried to play, but the atmosphere was broken. My parents came over. My mother took my arm. Natalie, honey. Tyler wouldn't look at me. He was at the bar with his head down, drinking a whiskey in one gulp. Let's go, I said to him, grabbing my purse. He nodded without a word. In the taxi back to our apartment, the silence was thicker than the Chicago winter fog. Tyler stared out the window. Why, Natalie? He finally asked without turning. Why did it have to be like this? You could have said no without humiliating her. Without humiliating all of us. She wanted to humiliate me, Tyler, on our day in front of everyone, I said, feeling the ice in my chest begin to crack, giving way to an enormous fatigue. I just returned the ball, playing by the same rules. $85,000 isn't a ball, he exploded, turning to me. And the thing about my salary? Are you crazy? My salary to your mother. It was to make her understand the point, I said wearily, to make her see how absurd her demand was. How unfair. I know it's unfair, he shouted. But she's my mother. You can't win like that. Now everything is broken. I didn't break it, Tyler. She planted the dynamite. I just turned on the light so everyone could see where it was. He didn't reply. When we reached the door of our new home, the apartment we had decorated together with so much hope, he went in first without waiting for me. The door closed behind me. The click of the lock sounded like a final punctuation mark. It tasted of failure, of loneliness, of the first night of a war I hadn't wanted, but, as I passed the mirror in the entryway and saw my own determined face, I realized I was ready to fight. Tyler didn't speak to me all morning. The silence in our new apartment was thick. I made coffee in the modern steel kitchen. He stared at his phone on the sofa. The tension was a wall. Suddenly, the doorbell rang insistently. Tyler sighed, got up and opened the door. It was Janice. She came in like a hurricane. She was wearing the same dress from the wedding, now wrinkled. She smelled of expensive perfume and rage. Good morning, she said without looking at me. She went straight to Tyler. I've come to fix this mess before it spreads any further. Mom, please, Tyler began. No, you be quiet, she cut him off. Then she finally looked at me. Natalie, you were nervous yesterday. I get it. A wedding is very stressful. You said things you didn't mean. Now that we're calm, we're going to solve this. I leaned against the counter. I didn't say anything I didn't mean, Janice. She made an impatient gesture. Enough foolishness. I came for the practicalities. I need your bank details and an authorization to make the monthly transfer. We'll start in April. Tyler rubbed his face. Mom, this isn't how it's done. We can't. She raised her voice. Tyler, who are you? The man of this house or not? Stand firm. I took a sip of bitter coffee. Just like the situation. Janice, my answer is no. It's final. My salary is mine. What happened yesterday wasn't a negotiation, it was a boundary. Her eyes narrowed. A boundary with me? In my family. I'm not your family in that way, I interrupted. I am your son's wife. That's something else. She turned pale. You see, Tyler? You see that arrogance? Something else. She thinks she's better. She approached her son. Look, I'll tell you plainly. Either she hands over the salary as she should, or I don't recognize her. She's not my daughter-in-law, and she will not set foot in my house for Christmas. Tyler looked like a trapped child. Mom, don't say that. Or what? I set down my cup. The noise startled them both. Or what, Janice? Or you'll kick me out of the family. A family isn't kicked out of, It's built or destroyed like you're trying to do. I'm destroying nothing, she yelled, slamming a fist on the kitchen island. I built all this myself. When his father died, Tyler was 12. Do you know what it's like to raise a child, a house, a business all alone? Everyone trying to take advantage. Shameless men, banks, envious relatives. Me alone. Her voice broke. There were real tears of fury in her eyes. For the first time I saw more than the tyrant. I saw a frightened woman. I saved every cent, she continued, panting. I gave my son an education, a future. And now you arrive with your modern job, your independence, your $85,000, and you take it all away. You take my place, you take my son. You want to leave me with nothing like the others. Tyler came closer, tried to touch her arm. Mom, it's not like that. She pulled away. It's exactly like that. And she doesn't need you, Tyler. She has her money, her life. I need you. I am your real family. Her words hung in the air. Brutal, half-true but powerful. I'm not taking anything, Janice, I said more calmly. I'm not taking your son. I'm offering to share his life. But you can't ask me to erase myself. I am not you. My life was different. And standing there in that Chicago kitchen, my mind flew back. Years ago we met in university, Tyler and I. He was studying business administration. I computer engineering. He was the shy guy from Evanston with old-fashioned manners. I the girl from Portland who spoke her mind. I liked his calm. He told me later that I wasn't afraid of anything. The first time I went to Evanston to meet Janice was a disaster. Her house was a museum. Dark furniture, photos from first communions, a musty smell. Janice greeted me with a cold smile. 2 kisses on the cheek. Her hands were strong. Natalie. A nice name, she said, pouring coffee. Tyler tells me you study computers. How practical. The dinner was an interrogation. My parents were teachers. Ah, how nice. Their ideas? Progressive. My. Did I want children? Of course someday. Did I cook? A little. Did I go to church? No. Each of my answers made her smile freeze a little more. Tyler barely spoke, just nodded. Yes, Mom. You're right, Mom. Later, when I went to the bathroom, the walls were thin. I heard her voice, low but clear, in the dining room. She's not for you, Tyler. She's too independent. She won't take care of you, she'll give you trouble. Find a local girl, one who understands how things are. Tyler murmured something I couldn't hear. Her family, what does that matter? She retorted. Her money will be her money. It won't belong to the family. That doesn't unite. It divides. You'll see. I came out of the bathroom, pretending I hadn't heard anything. But that night in the hotel I told Tyler, your mother doesn't want me here. He got nervous. She just doesn't know you. She's distrustful. Dad left her with a lot of debt. She had to fight a lot. She's just being protective. You'll see she'll change. She didn't change. In the following years, every visit was a test. Passive-aggressive comments. So well-dressed, Natalie. Such expensive clothes, for how hard it is to earn a living. Or, such a difficult career yours. What a shame it doesn't leave time to learn how to make a good pot roast. First, I tried to please her. I brought flowers, helped with the dishes. She accepted everything with that icy politeness. The open conflict came with the wedding. We wanted something simple in Chicago. Janice insisted on her parish church, with half the town invited. It's tradition, she'd say. The wedding is the bride's, but the groom's family chooses the location. It's what's proper. I stood my ground. I'm not a bull to be led into your ring, Janice. We're getting married in Chicago at the hotel. The argument was over the phone. Tyler was next to me, sweating. Natalie, maybe we can. No, I told him, covering the receiver. This is the first thing. If you give in here, we'll give in on everything. In the end, it was in Chicago, but Janice insisted on paying for the reception. If it's in the city, I'll provide the food. That's fair. She said it like a favor, but we all knew it was a power move. Whoever pays calls the shots. She wanted to call the shots. My parents, quiet people, were horrified. This woman is a minefield, Natalie, my father told me. Are you sure? I was sure about Tyler, not his mother. But I thought love would overcome it. Naive. The sound of a sob brought me back to the present. Janice was crying now, sitting on our new sofa. Tyler was beside her, awkwardly patting her back. I've lost everything again, she wailed. No, Mom, you haven't lost me. I'm here, he whispered. She lifted her tear-streaked face. You see what you do? This is what you bring. Tears on your first day of marriage. Bad luck. That phrase, bad luck, pierced me like a knife. In her world, I was already the outsider who broke the family. Tyler, I said in a voice I didn't recognize. I need you to say something now. Are you with me? Or are you with her? He looked at me, his eyes pleading. Natalie, don't put me in the middle. You're already in the middle. I yelled, my patience shattered. You've been in the middle for years, and you always choose the same side. Silence. Which is choosing her. I'm not choosing anyone. I want peace. There is no peace where there is no justice, I snapped, unintentionally quoting my grandfather. She demanded my salary. And my wedding. Do you think that's okay? One word. Yes or no? Tyler opened his mouth. He looked at his mother, who was watching him with the eyes of a beaten dog. He closed his mouth, lowered his head. That was his answer. The air went out of my lungs. Suddenly everything was clear. The entire future laid out in that silence. Tense dinners, constant criticism, children she would try to raise in her image, a salary that would always be a topic, and a husband who stared at the floor. Okay, I said in a whisper. I turned around. I went into the bedroom. Natalie, Tyler's weak voice behind me. I didn't answer. I opened the closet. I took out the small suitcase, the carry-on. The one I'd packed for our honeymoon, which was supposed to be in 2 weeks if it ever happened. I started throwing in clothes, the basics, jeans, t-shirts, underwear. I wasn't thinking. My hands moved automatically. He appeared in the doorway. What are you doing? What does it look like I'm doing, Tyler? I'm leaving. No, please, it's our first day. He came closer, tried to take a shirt from the suitcase. Let's talk, we can fix this. How? I looked him in the eye. By me saying yes and handing you my paycheck, becoming the good little girl who asks permission to spend her own money? No, but there are ways. We can negotiate. Give her something symbolic. Symbolic. I let out a bitter laugh. She doesn't want symbols. She wants control. Control over me, over you, over our life. And you give it to her. She's my mother, he said, desperate. And I'm your wife, I snapped, zipping the suitcase shut with a sharp tug. Or I was. Choose Tyler. Now. Not tomorrow. Now. I heard Janice get up in the living room. Her footsteps approached. Tyler looked toward the door, then back at me. His face was a mask of agony. Don't make me choose. That was the second answer, the final one. I picked up the suitcase, walked past him. He smelled of his cologne, of our wedding morning, of something that was already broken. Janice was in the entryway, standing with her arms crossed, an almost triumphant expression in her eyes. That's enough drama, Natalie, she said. Put that suitcase down and let's talk like adults. I looked at her, not with hatred anymore, but with an infinite fatigue. I'll talk with adults when I see them, Janice. Here I only see a boy and his owner. I opened the door. The building's hallway was cool, silent. Natalie, please. Tyler's broken voice behind me. I didn't turn around. I walked out. The door closed slowly behind me. I didn't hear it click. He hadn't shut it completely. Maybe he hoped I would come back. I went down the stairs. The wheels of the suitcase made a dull, repetitive noise against the marble steps. A heartbeat. The heartbeat of a retreat. On the street, the Chicago sun was blinding. I took out my phone, dialed the only number that made sense. It rang twice. Natalie? What's wrong? Aren't you on your honeymoon? It was the voice of Rachel, my childhood friend. Rachel, I said, and my voice finally broke. Can I come to your place now? A moment of silence on the other end. Then her voice, firm and clear. Of course. Come over. I have wine and cookies. Do you need me to pick you up? No, I'm close. I'm on my way. I hung up. I looked up at the window of our apartment. Our apartment. No one was visible. The white curtain, the one we chose together, was still. I picked up my suitcase and started walking. Each step took me further from the life I had imagined, and strangely enough, each step made me breathe a little deeper. Rachel's apartment smelled of incense and freshly brewed coffee, a stark contrast to the icy silence I had left behind. My friend didn't ask questions. She handed me a glass of red wine, took the suitcase from my hand, and pushed me toward the sofa, a chaotic and cozy nest of cushions. "Tell me when you're ready or don't tell me at all," she said, turning on an e-cigarette. Her calm was a bomb. The words came out in a rush. The wedding, the ultimatum, my counterattack. The next morning, the escape. Rachel listened without interrupting, her dark eyes growing wider. "Wow, Natalie," she whispered at the end. "This is like a movie. A bad movie, but the kind that wins awards." A short, choked laugh escaped my throat. "I don't feel very decorated." "Of course not, honey." She turned off the vape pen. "That woman is a textbook narcissist. And Tyler is a mama's boy. You knew." "I didn't know. Deep down I always knew, but I attributed it to loyalty, to affection. Not this total surrender. I thought it would be different with me. That once he had his own life, his own family, he would break free," she completed. "A classic. Every woman's mistake." She leaned forward. "Hey, your counterattack was epic. The thing about Tyler's salary going to your mom, I would have paid to see that woman's face." I smiled faintly. "It was for nothing. It just made things worse." "Worse?" Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Natalie, things were already rotten. What you did was open the window to let the air in and expose the rot. Now it smells bad to everyone, and that's a good thing." My phone vibrated on the coffee table. The screen showed Tyler. I looked at it. My heart skipped a beat, a stupid reflex of hope. Maybe he had realized, maybe he was coming to get me. Rachel followed my gaze. "Don't answer. Let him sweat." I let it ring until it stopped. A minute later, a message came in. "Tyler, Natalie, please come back. Let's talk. Mom has already left. This can be fixed." "Mom has already left," I read aloud sarcastically, as if her physical presence was the problem, not her control over him. "Exactly," Rachel nodded. "Answer, but with your head, not your heart." My fingers trembled slightly over the screen. "Me. There's nothing to talk about until you understand that what happened last night was unacceptable. Your mother demanded my salary. That isn't fixed, it's rejected. And you didn't reject it." The 3 dots indicating he was typing appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, his reply arrived. "Tyler, it was a silly thing, an exaggeration. She's already said so. She was nervous, emotional. She didn't mean it." I could almost hear his exasperated voice trying to downplay everything. I took a deep breath. "Me. She said it in front of 150 people and came to claim it this morning. That's saying it very seriously. Until you acknowledge that, we have no basis to talk." This time the response was faster. "Tyler, what do you want me to do? Yell at her? Kick her out? She's my mother. She just wants what's best for us." There it was, the core of it all. What's best for us? In his head, his mother's control and our well-being were the same thing. Me, what's best for us is for us to be a team, you and me. And today we weren't. I'll think about coming back when you prove to me that we are that team, that your primary loyalty is to me, to our marriage, not to her. There was no immediate reply. I turned off the screen and sank back against the cushions, exhausted. "Good," Rachel said. "Clear boundaries. Now we wait. And you prepare." "Prepare for what?" "For whatever comes next, sweetie. Because if I know that type of woman, yours isn't going to stand by idly." She was right. The next morning my phone started to blow up. First it was my little sister, Haley. "Natalie, what happened? I'm hearing it from all sides." "What? That you had a huge fight at the wedding? That you told your mother-in-law to get lost? That Tyler is devastated? What's going on?" I sat up in bed, my heart racing. "Haley, calm down. Who told you that?" "Tyler's cousin, Courtney. She posted it on her Instagram stories. She basically says, wait, I'll send you the screenshot." A second later the image arrived. It was a clearly leaked WhatsApp message from one of their family groups. The message was from Janice. Janice in the Miller family group. Thank you all for yesterday. Despite the painful ending, the bride, instead of joy, brought resentment and disunity. After everything we've done for her, she refused the simplest show of family integration. Tyler is heartbroken. Pray for him that he finds strength, and for that girl that she finds humility. I was breathless. The manipulation was perfect. She, the long-suffering mother. Me, the resentful outsider. Tyler, the poor victim. And the simplest show of family integration, my entire salary. You see. Haley's voice said on the phone. It's unbelievable. Family integration? By giving her my paycheck, Haley. That's what she was asking for. My sister swore. This is harassment. This is Natalie, we have to do something. Mom and Dad are going to go ballistic. Don't tell them anything yet. I'll talk to them. But it was too late. Minutes later my mother called. Natalie. Mom. I received a very strange message from Karen, Tyler's aunt. Is everything all right, honey? I couldn't protect her. I told her everything. The demand, my response, my departure. On the other end, I only heard her breathing getting heavier. $7,000 a month for her? My mother's voice, always so serene, trembled with indignation. That woman is sick. And Tyler, poor thing, must be overwhelmed. But Natalie, leaving like that, isn't it a bit drastic? Wouldn't it have been better to talk calmly in private? Mom, she did it in front of everyone. The humiliation was public. My response had to be public. And this morning she came for the bank papers. There's no calm to be had. My father took the phone. Natalie, it's Dad. Listen to me carefully. His tone was the one he used when he was teaching, firm and clear. You did the right thing. Principle is not negotiable. If you give in on this, you give in on everything. Your life, your independence, your dignity. Tyler needs to wake up. And if he doesn't, you've shown who you are. We are proud and we are here for you. Are you coming home to Portland? Not yet, Dad. I have to see how this plays out here. As you wish. But don't give an inch. Personal sovereignty is non-negotiable. I hung up, feeling a little better but overwhelmed. The news was spreading like wildfire. My Instagram started getting follow requests from Tyler's distant cousins. My LinkedIn had several visits from profiles with the last name Miller. They were investigating me. And then came the low blow. A notification from my bank. An attempt to change the direct deposit account number for my salary. It could be requested through the app, though it needed a final confirmation via text message. Someone had tried to change the destination account to one linked to a local branch. The bank code was from the Chicago area. Tyler knew my passwords. The usual ones. The date of our first kiss. My blood ran cold. I grabbed the phone and dialed his number. This time he answered on the first ring. Natalie? Are you okay? His voice sounded hopeful. Did you try to change my direct deposit account number? I snapped, breathless. Silence. A guilty dense silence. Tyler, yes or no? It was Mom's idea, he said in a thread of a voice. She said if I did it as a gesture of goodwill, you would see it wasn't such a big deal, that it was just a formality, that it would calm things down. I couldn't believe it. The betrayal was so immense, so childish that it left me speechless. You have my passwords, I managed to articulate. Yes, but I didn't do it. See, the bank sent you the alert. I didn't confirm it. I didn't dare. You didn't dare. A grand gesture, Tyler. Not committing a serious breach of trust. What an honorable man, I shouted, losing my temper for the first time. What world are you living in? What world? Natalie, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. It was a moment of weakness. She was pressuring me so much. Change them. I interrupted, my voice now like ice. Change them all. The bank passwords, the email, the app for the apartment. Now. And listen to me carefully. If you ever try to touch anything of mine again, the next thing you'll see won't be a message from me. It will be a police report and a lawyer. Natalie, please. And another thing. The honeymoon to Hawaii? Cancel it. I'm not going. Get the refund or go with your mother. I hung up. I was trembling from head to toe with rage, with pain, with a disappointment that hollowed me out. Rachel, who had been listening from the doorway, came over and hugged me. "I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm so sorry." "He failed me," I whispered against her shoulder. "In the worst possible way." "I know. But now you know. Now you see it clearly. It's better this way." She was right, but knowing it didn't ease the gut-wrenching pain. The future I had imagined, the children, the life together was all vanishing like smoke. What remained was a battlefield. And without wanting to, I had become the general of my own one-person army. My phone vibrated again. It was a message from an unknown number. Unknown number. "Natalie. It's Karen, Tyler's aunt. I heard about the argument. Janice is very hurt. Tyler is devastated. Don't you think you should apologize for the good of everyone? A family comes first. Think about it." I looked at the message. Then I looked at Rachel. A strange, cold calm began to settle over me. The storm of emotions was clearing, leaving only a determination as sharp and hard as a diamond. "No," I said aloud, though no one was listening. "My family is me now, and I'm not going to apologize for defending myself." Rachel nodded with a fierce smile. "Welcome to the fight, soldier. Now how do we counterattack?" My parents arrived in Chicago on the afternoon flight. I saw them get off at O'Hare, my father with his straight professor's posture, my mother's face etched with worry. When they saw me, they hugged me so tightly that for a moment, the world didn't feel so hostile. "Tell us everything again, but in detail," my father said once we were in the Uber to Rachel's apartment. And I told them. Everything, including the attempt to change my direct deposit account. My mother let out a strangled gasp. "My God, that's a serious breach." "But I won't report it," I said. "For Tyler's sake. Though I don't know why anymore." "Because you love him," my mother said sadly. "That's normal. But love can't be a place where they erase you, honey." My father didn't speak until we arrived. Upon entering Rachel's apartment, he dropped his suitcase and said, "This cannot be left like this. We need to talk face to face with everyone. With Janice, with Tyler, and with a neutral witness from their side. Otherwise, this will fester forever." And so the meeting was arranged. It was my father's idea. Tyler, after much pressure, agreed. Janice surprisingly did too. Perhaps she thought my parents were coming to apologize on my behalf. They chose Tyler and my apartment, a neutral ground that no longer felt neutral. When we entered, the air was thick. Tyler was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He gave me a cold kiss on the cheek. "Hi." He didn't even try to hug me. Janice was sitting in the main armchair like it was a throne. Beside her was a tall man in his 60s with a mustache, wearing a tweed jacket. Her Uncle George, her late father's brother, a construction businessman from the Chicago area with a reputation for being tough. "Good afternoon," George said, barely standing up. His handshake was firm, calculated. "I'm sorry we have to meet like this, but when family calls, you answer." My father nodded, polite but distant. "I completely agree, George. That's why we're here. To clear up family matters." We sat down. A coffee table between us like a border. Tyler served water to everyone with trembling hands. Janice was the first to speak. "Before anything, I want to say that this is all a huge misunderstanding. A pain for everyone." Her voice was syrupy, but her eyes were ice. "I only wanted what was best for the newlyweds. The union of assets is a symbol of trust, of unity." "Exactly." George intervened with a deep, paternalistic voice. Janice explained her point of view to me, and with all due respect, I think young Natalie has misinterpreted a gesture of welcome. In our family, the one who runs the house manages it. It's normal. My dear sister here has been an example. She raised this boy. He gestured to Tyler. All by herself with many sacrifices. She knows what she's doing. My father took the floor. We understand and respect Janice's role, but we are in 2026 in Chicago. Natalie and Tyler are a married couple of two professional adults. Unity does not mean one cedes their economic autonomy to the other, much less to their mother-in-law. George sketched a condescending smile. Of course, modern ideas very respectable, but family has its own laws. Unwritten laws, but more important. Harmony, respect for elders. The bride integrates into the husband's family. These are customs. Customs that cross serious lines, my mother said, her doctor's voice delivering a diagnosis. The law is very clear. Marital property, if any, is managed jointly by the spouses, not by the in-laws. Demanding Natalie's entire salary is not a custom, it's an outrage. Janice flared up. Outrage? What an ugly word. I offered my experience. Isn't that valuable? Isn't what I did for my son worth anything? It's worth a lot, Janice, I said, speaking for the first time. Everyone looked at me. But it's not paid for with my independence. Those are different things. Tyler, who had been staring at the floor, lifted his head. Natalie, please. No, Tyler, let her speak. I respect your history, I continued. Your mother is a fighter. But her fight is not mine. My life, my job, my salary are mine. We will pay our shared expenses between the two of us, but my money is mine. George cleared his throat. Look, girl, I say this with affection. That attitude of what's mine is not family. It divides. If you marry a miller, you are a miller. And in this house, things have always been done this way. Well, maybe it's time to change the way things are done, I replied, keeping my voice calm despite my pounding heart. Or this house is going to get very empty. Janice shot a fiery look at Tyler. You see that threat? That's how she treats your family. With ultimatums. Enough. My father's voice boomed in the room. He stood up. Do not speak about my daughter that way. She has not threatened. She has set a boundary. Something that you, Janice, crossed in a scandalous way in the middle of her wedding celebration. That is what needs to be discussed here. Not customs, respect, or the lack thereof. The silence was absolute. George seemed surprised by the outburst. Janice opened her mouth, but nothing came out. My father continued, now addressing Tyler. Tyler, I love you like a son. Or I did. But right now I am very disappointed. A man defends his wife. That's the first thing. And I haven't seen you defend her. I've seen her defend herself, alone against your mother, against your traditions, and against your silence. Tyler turned red. Mr. Carter, I love Natalie, but it's my mother. It's not easy. Nothing worthwhile is, my father said. The question is, what are you going to do? All eyes were fixed on Tyler. He was the center of it all. He rubbed his sweaty hands. He looked at his mother, who was giving him an intense, pleading look. He looked at his Uncle George, whose expression clearly said, be a man. He looked at my parents, full of expectation. Finally, he looked at me. In his eyes I saw fear. Pure simple fear. He began, swallowing hard. I think we can reach an agreement. A middle ground. What middle ground? I asked with a calm that scared even me. That you don't give her your whole salary. Maybe that's too much. He took a deep breath as if diving into an abyss. But what if you give a portion? A third, for example. As a gesture. For the common household. So mom feels included. And that way everything calms down. Time stopped. I looked at this man, my husband, with whom I had dreamed of a life, and I didn't see a partner. I saw a scared intermediary, offering me up as a bargaining chip. I saw a child haggling with his toy so his mother wouldn't get angry. My mother placed a hand on mine, squeezing hard. My father closed his eyes as if in pain. George nodded, satisfied. See? A sensible solution. Everyone gives a little. That's the mature thing to do. Janice didn't look as happy. A third wasn't everything, but it was a start. A crack in my defenses. She nodded slowly. It would be a gesture of goodwill. I would accept it. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my surrender, my capitulation. I pulled my hand away from my mother's. I stood up. I didn't say anything for a long moment, just looked at Tyler. He couldn't hold my gaze. Tyler, I said, and my voice sounded strangely clear in the silent room. What do you want? A wife or a puppet who gives a third of her soul to your mother so she won't be angry? He opened his mouth but no sound came out. That's the only question, I continued. Because I am not a puppet. And a third of my salary, given under duress, is not a gesture of goodwill. It's a ransom. And I don't pay ransoms. I turned to Janice and George. My decision is no. Not 1 cent. Not now, not ever. My salary is mine. And my marriage, I looked at Tyler again, whose head was bowed. My marriage, apparently, is also only mine at this moment. I picked up my bag. My parents rose to stand beside me in solidarity. Natalie, wait, Tyler murmured, finally looking up. There were tears in his eyes. Of frustration, of helplessness. I've waited long enough, Tyler, I said, and I felt my voice crack. I've waited for you to grow up, for you to choose me. Today you had your chance, and you chose a middle ground between her and me, on an issue where there can be no middle ground. I'm sorry. I walked into the entryway. I heard Janice say, you see? She's impossible. She doesn't want to be part of this family. And my father's firm voice. She already has a family, Janice. And today she acted like it by defending it. Good day. The door closed behind us. The slam echoed in the stairwell. It wasn't a sound of anger. It was the sound of a book closing for good. On the street, my mother hugged me. You did well, honey. Very well. My father nodded, his eyes shining. It was the right question. A wife or a puppet? A shame he didn't know how to answer. We got into the Uber. On the way to Rachel's apartment, I looked out the window. Chicago passed by, bright and indifferent. I no longer had a husband. I had a legal problem, a broken heart, and a mother-in-law who was probably already planning her next move. But also, for the first time since the wedding, I had the certainty of being right. And that certainty, though painful, was as solid as a rock. A rock from which maybe I could rebuild something. Or start over. The silence in Rachel's apartment after the storm of the meeting was different. It was no longer the silence of shock, but of the aftermath. A heavy, sad certainty. Tyler had not chosen me. My marriage had lasted less than 48 hours. My parents left for Portland the next day, worried but respectful. Call if you need anything. Or if you just want to cry. My mother told me, hugging me tight. My father just nodded with a look of both pride and pain. Dignity hurts, honey. But it hurts less than constant humiliation. I was left alone. Or almost alone. Rachel worked, but at night she dragged me out. Don't stay here ruminating. The world keeps moving. One night, she took me to a small, dark place in Wicker Park. A faded sign read, The Rhythm Loft. The air smelled of old wood, sweat, and wine. In a corner, an older woman with her hair in a severe bun watched everything with hawk-like eyes. She was the owner, Gloria. We sat down. The show began. A lone dancer on stage started to strike the floor with her tap shoes. Click, 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 click. A dry, defiant sound. Her face was a mask of pain and power. She didn't smile. She challenged. With every stomp, every turn, every arm movement that cut the air like a knife, she seemed to say, here I am. I am the pain, I am the fury, I am the owner of this ground I tread. Something inside me broke loose. The tears I hadn't cried in front of my parents, in front of Rachel, in front of Tyler, began to fall, silent and relentless. It wasn't sadness. It was rage, it was grief, it was the release of a heel stomp. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. I wiped my cheeks, embarrassed. Gloria, the owner, approached our table. Her eyes, black and deep, settled on me. This kind of performance is not for watching, darling, she said in a voice hoarse from cigarettes and long nights. It's for feeling. It seems it has reached you. I didn't know what to say. I nodded. Whoever cries in a place like this, she continued, pouring herself a glass of water from our pitcher without asking, is because they have a trapped dance inside. Or a lost battle, I murmured. Or both. She sketched something like a smile. Battles are lost. Wars not always. The important thing is not to lose the rhythm. She looked at me intently. In the dance, the woman must hold herself up, alone. With a strong core. If she leans where she shouldn't, she falls. Your core seems strong, but you're leaning. I don't know how she knew, but she knew. I nodded again. Well, straighten up, she said, and walked away, leaving me with her words and the echo of the taps. That night I slept a little better. The crying had emptied me. The image of the unbreakable dancer stayed with me. The next day the counterattack arrived. This time it was digital. My sister Haley called me, furious. You're not going to believe it. Your mother-in-law. Look at the family group. I wasn't in the Miller family WhatsApp group. But Haley was, because in a moment of future peace, Tyler had added her. She sent me screenshots. Janice had written a long message, a manifesto. Janice in the Miller family group. Dear family, I write to you with a broken heart. As you know, my son Tyler was married days ago. I thank God for the celebration, though it was tainted by selfishness and a lack of true love. Some modern people believe marriage is only between two people. No, marriage unites two families. And when one party refuses that union, everything breaks. The bride has refused any gesture of integration. She has taken my son from our home, and now he is alone, devastated, not knowing what to do. I pray for him, and I pray for that poor girl, trapped in her pride and greed, which prevent her from seeing that love is surrender, not calculation. Please pray with me, and if you see Tyler, give him encouragement. He needs it. I read the text twice. The manipulation was masterful. She, the devout and pained mother. Me, the greedy and proud outsider. Tyler, the poor, shattered boy. And the detail about she has taken my son from our home, when it was she who had come to our apartment. The audacity left me breathless. The replies started to come in. First, aunts and cousins offering prayers. So much strength to you, Janice, you are a saint. Then an uncle, that girl needs to be taught where authority comes from. A chorus of support for the victim queen. Until the bomb dropped. My sister Haley, who had been holding back for days, couldn't take it anymore. Haley in the Miller family group. Good morning, everyone. I'm Haley, Natalie's sister. I find everything you're saying here, Janice, to be a disgusting display of disrespect and manipulation. Natalie didn't take anyone. She defended herself from emotional and economic pressure in the middle of her wedding. Demanding a person's entire salary is not a gesture of integration. It's completely out of line. And my sister is not greedy. She is a professional who has earned her independence through hard work. I'm sorry Tyler is devastated. He should be, for not having defended his wife. And you, Janice, instead of praying so much, you could try respecting your daughter and regards. The digital silence must have been deafening. Then the group erupted. Messages of who is this? What a lack of manners. Janice, how did she get in here? And Haley's final reply before they kicked her out was a screenshot of Janice's original message, followed by, so you can't say I'm lying. Here are her words. Enjoy the show. I laughed. A bitter but liberating laugh. My sister, the warrior. She had set fire to the battlefield, but at least it was no longer a secret war. Now it was public. Minutes later my phone vibrated. It was Tyler. Have you seen what your sister did? His voice was a broken whisper, of either rage or panic. I've seen what your mother did, Tyler. What you've been letting her do for days. Haley insulted her in front of the whole family. And your mother slandered me in front of the whole family. Or does that not count? I took a deep breath. Your mother started this. Haley only returned the blow. And with the truth on her side. The truth? What truth? You broke this with your pride. If you had just given in a little. Given a little. I interrupted and I felt my voice tremble, not with sadness, but with an icy fury. Given my salary, given my autonomy, given my dignity? No, Tyler. You don't give those in. You defend them or you lose them. And I don't plan on losing. I don't know what to do, he said, and his voice broke. He was the lost boy again. Everyone is calling me. They're telling me I have to control you, that I have to put you in your place, that my mother is sick with grief. And what do you think? I asked with a calm that surprised me. Because in the end their opinions, your uncle's, your mother's, it's all just noise. The only question that matters is the one I asked you yesterday. What do you want? The silence on the other end of the phone was thick. I could only hear his breathing. Don't put me in this situation, he finally pleaded. That was his answer. Always the same. Tyler, I said, exhausted. You're no longer in a situation. You're in a choice. And by not choosing, you have already chosen. Goodbye. I hung up. I blocked his number. Not forever, just so I could breathe, so I could think without the constant buzz of his indecision. The afternoon fell over Chicago. Rachel wasn't back yet. The silence of the apartment was enormous. I put on my coat and went out to walk aimlessly. The streets of Wicker Park were full of people, of laughter, of couples holding hands. I was a ghost among them. My phone vibrated again. An unknown number. I answered it, prepared for another voice from the Miller family. Natalie. It wasn't a voice from the Miller family. It was a younger female voice, uncertain. It's Allison, Tyler's cousin. From the wedding. We sat at the same table. I remembered her, a young woman around my age with an intelligent look. Hi, Allison, I said cautiously. How can I help you? Look, this is a bit weird. I apologize for calling, but I saw the thing in the WhatsApp group, your sister and everything, and, well, I wanted to tell you that I'm on your side. She blurted it out, as if the words were burning her tongue. What Aunt Janice did was crazy. And what she's doing now, poisoning the family, it's not right. A lot of us think the same, but no one dares to say it. She's very strong. I leaned against the wall of a building. I didn't expect this. Thank you, Allison. It means a lot. Tyler is lost. He loves his mother a lot, but he's not a bad person, he's just scared. She paused. I'm calling because I think you're brave and because this isn't right. If you need anything, or if this all goes to hell and you need a witness for how everything happened, I'm here. A ray of light on the darkest day. A crack in the wall of the Miller family. Thank you, I repeated, and this time my voice sounded firmer. Really, thank you. I hung up, feeling the weight on my shoulders a little less unbearable. I wasn't completely alone. There were unexpected allies. There were people who saw the truth. I returned to Rachel's apartment. I turned on my computer. I opened a blank document. At the top I wrote lawyer. Separation of assets. Possible postnuptial agreement. Then below evidence. WhatsApp screenshots. Testimonies, Allison. Recording of the meeting, check legality. I didn't want to get to this point, but Tyler had left me with no options. Either he took a firm step toward me, proving with actions that our marriage was his priority, or I would have to take the firm step of getting out of it. As I typed, my phone rang again. This time it was a direct message from Janice. She must have gotten my number from a relative. Janice, unknown number. Natalie. This has to stop. Your sister has been intolerably disrespectful. I want you to come to my house tomorrow, just the two of us, to talk like adults. No witnesses, no parents. At noon. If you don't come, consider it turning your back on this family forever, and on Tyler as well. It's your last chance. I read the message 1, 2, 3 times. It wasn't an invitation, it was an order. A summons to her territory on her terms. Your last chance. The same words she had used at the wedding. Before, they would have terrified me. Now, looking at the computer screen with the word lawyer glowing against the white background, I only felt a cold contempt. I didn't answer right away. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and looked out the window. The Chicago night was shining, full of lights and other people's lives. I remembered the taps of the dancer at the club. Click, click. The sound of someone holding herself up, with a strong core. I picked up the phone. I wrote my reply. Short, clear, like a sharp strike on the floor. Me. I'm not coming. I don't have to explain myself to you on your territory. If you want to talk, we talk with a family mediator present, or with lawyers. You choose. Natalie. I sent the message, then blocked that number too. I hadn't chosen Tyler back, but for the first time in days, I felt like the owner of my own ground, the owner of my own heel stomp. And it sounded strong. Sounded like war, but it also sounded like freedom. The apartment was silent. A silence that wasn't peace but the echo of an explosion. Tyler wandered between the rooms. Natalie's scent was still on the pillows, on her jacket hanging on the hook, on the bottle of hand cream in the bathroom. Every object was a reminder of her absence, of his failure. His phone wouldn't stop. Messages from the family group, calls from uncles asking how things were. Messages of support for his mother. He silenced it. For the first time, the noise of his family felt unbearable. He needed to do something, anything. He decided to organize the closet in the study, filled with old boxes from when they moved in. Maybe the physical effort would quiet his mind. In a cardboard box under piles of university books, he found a worn leather folder. It was his father's. He opened it carefully. Inside, old documents and a letter addressed to him in a yellowed envelope. On the envelope, in his father's firm handwriting, "For Tyler, for when he is a man." His hands trembled. His father had died of a heart attack when he was 12. He was a distant memory of loud laughter and big hands. He opened the envelope. "Dear Tyler, if you are reading this, it means you are a man now. Your mother told me not to give you letters, that the past should be left behind. But a father has things to say to his son, even from far away. First, I love you more than anything in this world. Second, be a good man. But good doesn't mean weak. It means just. It means protecting those you love, even if protecting them sometimes hurts. Your mother is a strong woman. I loved her with all my heart, but my love for her did not blind me. She has an iron will, a tremendous fear of being left alone, of losing control. When I'm gone, she will cling to you with all her love, which is great, and with all her fear, which is even greater. Do not let her fear suffocate your life. Do not let her love become a chain. Your life is yours, your decisions are yours. If one day you find a woman you love, take care of her, protect her. And protecting her will sometimes mean standing between her and the world, even if the world wears your mother's face. A man forms his own family. He doesn't abandon the old one, but he builds the new one with respect, with clear boundaries. That is my greatest wish for you. That you be happy, that you be free, that you be your own man. With all my love now and always, Dad." Tyler slid down against the wall, clutching the letter to his chest. He cried. He cried as he hadn't since the funeral. Tears of grief, of anger at himself, of longing. His father's words were a mirror, showing him exactly what he hadn't been. He hadn't protected Natalie. He had stood aside, letting his mother's fear rule. He stood up with a new, fragile determination. There was something he had to check, something he had been avoiding for years. He turned on his computer, logged into his online banking at Chase, and checked his checking accounts. Everything seemed in order. Then he looked at the section for associated cards. There, in addition to his main card, was another. An additional debit card linked to his main account. In the cardholder's name, Janice Miller. His blood ran cold. He remembered requesting it when he started working 10 years ago. "For emergencies, son, in case I need to buy something for the house and don't have cash." He had never canceled it, never checked its transactions. He clicked. He saw the latest charges. They weren't emergencies. It was the payment for his mother's luxury hairdresser. It was a purchase at Macy's last month. It was the membership at the gym. She was using his account as an extension of her own. With his money, the money he earned, the autonomy he denied Natalie, his mother had taken from him without asking. The rage he felt then had no name. It was pure, crystalline righteous. It wasn't the confused anger of the last few days. It was a clear fire. He picked up his phone, unlocked the screen, and dialed his mother's number. She answered on the second ring. "Tyler, you finally called. I was worried with all this mess." "Mom." His voice sounded strange even to him. Firm. "I need you to give me your debit card. The one for my account." A silence. Then a nervous laugh. "What are you talking about, son? What card?" "The additional card for my Chase account, Mom. The one you've had for 10 years. I want you to give it to me now." "Tyler, what's gotten into you? Is it because of Natalie? She's turning you against me. That card is for emergencies." "Is a $150 haircut an emergency?" he asked with an icy calm. "The dress from Macy's? The gym? I've seen the transactions, Mom. You've been using my money. My salary." His mother's tone changed. It became defensive, bitter. "So what? And what if I have? Don't I deserve it? After everything I've done for you? I raised you alone. I spent my life on you, and now you're haggling with me over a few miserable dollars." "It's not about the dollars, Mom," Tyler said, feeling his jaw tighten. "It's about it being mine. My work, my money, my decision. Just like Natalie's is hers. Don't compare. I'm your mother. She's a stranger who has turned you against me. Natalie is my wife," he shouted, and the sound of his own loud, clear voice surprised him. "Or she was. And I lost her because I didn't know how to set a boundary that you should never have crossed. Not with my money, not with my life, not with my marriage. On the other end, Janice burst into tears. They were dramatic, heart-wrenching sobs that once would have broken his heart. My own son throws this in my face. After all my sacrifices. He prefers that nobody to his own mother who gave him life. Before, those sobs would have melted him. He would have run to her house to hug her, to apologize. But today, holding his father's letter in one hand and with the bank screen glowing in the other, the tears sounded hollow. False. Another tool of control. No, Mom, he said with an infinite weariness. I don't prefer anyone. I demand respect. For me and for my wife. I want the card today. Will you leave it in the mailbox? Or should I cancel it through the app? And if I cancel it, you'll have to explain to the bank why you have a card that isn't yours. You choose. The sobs stopped abruptly. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you options. Like you gave Natalie and me. Now it's my turn. He hung up. He didn't wait for her reply. He took a deep breath. His heart was pounding, but not from fear. From something like adrenaline, like freedom. He acted quickly. From the bank app, he canceled the additional card. Then he changed all his passwords, the ones his mother might know. Her birthday, his birthday, he changed them to random combinations he saved in a manager. Then he stood still in the middle of the empty living room. The step was taken. There was no going back. He had chosen a side. It wasn't his mother's side, and it wasn't Natalie's side. He had chosen his own. He looked at his phone. Natalie. She didn't want to hear from him. He had blocked her. He had to try one last time. But not with words. With actions. He had to prove it. And he knew where to start. He remembered Natalie had mentioned in some distant conversation a blues club in Wicker Park she sometimes went to. The Rhythm Loft, he thought he remembered. A place where she took refuge. He wasn't sure, but it was the only thread he had. He put on his jacket and went out. The Chicago night was cool. He walked fast, with a purpose he hadn't felt in days. He arrived at the small venue, the faded sign. He hesitated for a moment. What if she wasn't there? What if she threw him out? He pushed the door. The interior was dark, warm. A show was in progress. A guitarist was playing and a dancer, not Natalie, was marking a slow rhythm. His eyes scanned the dim light, and there at a table in the back, next to a friend with dark hair, was her. Natalie. Her gaze was lost on the stage, but her face was different. Harder, more defined, as if pain had sculpted it. Tyler approached. The tables were close. Rachel saw him first. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with hostility. She touched Natalie's arm and pointed toward him. Natalie turned her head. Her expression didn't change. Not surprise, not joy, not anger. Nothing. An impassive wall. That hurt more than a shout. He approached their table. Natalie, please, I need to talk to you. She said nothing. Just looked at him. Just 5 minutes. Outside. Please. Rachel was about to say something, but Natalie raised a hand. She nodded. Slowly. She stood up. She walked out into the cold street, followed by him. On the sidewalk, under the yellowish light of a lamppost, they faced each other. Tyler swallowed. The words he had prepared were stuck in his throat. I canceled the card, he finally said awkwardly. The card to my account that my mother had. And I told her no. That she wouldn't touch my money anymore. That she wouldn't decide about my life anymore. Natalie remained impassive. And I found a letter from my father. His voice broke. He told me to protect you. Even from her. And I didn't. I'm sorry, Natalie. I'm sorrier than I can say. She continued to look at him. Finally she spoke. I'm happy for you, Tyler. Truly. But that's something between you and your mother. It's your battle. Not mine. I already fought mine. And I lost. Because I fought alone. You're not alone anymore, he implored, taking a step closer. She didn't step back, but her posture was a wall. I understand now. It was all unfair, it was abusive, it was horrible. And I was a coward. I'm asking for your forgiveness. Give me a chance to show you I've changed, that I can be the man I should have been. Natalie took a deep breath. The vapor of her breath mixed with the cold air. Words are easy, Tyler. Actions are hard. And I already saw the actions at the meeting. When you asked me to give up a third of myself. When you didn't defend me. Those are things you don't forget. I can change it. Let me try. How? She asked, and for the first time her voice showed emotion, a cold, challenging curiosity. What are you going to do, Tyler? Because going back to our apartment and pretending nothing happened is not an option. Tyler had thought about it while he was walking. It was extreme, but it was the only thing he could think of. We're leaving, he said. From Chicago. I'll look for a transfer at the bank. To Portland, to Seattle, wherever. Far away. We start over, just the two of us. No interference. Natalie observed him as if searching for traces of a lie in his face. And your mother? We'll visit. With boundaries. But we won't live under her shadow ever again. He paused. And we'll sign whatever you want. Separation of assets, a postnuptial agreement now, whatever. So you know I don't want your money. I just want you. The words hung in the air. Natalie looked down. When she looked up again, there was something different. It wasn't forgiveness. It was consideration. A cold evaluation. It's a grand gesture, Tyler. But it's just a gesture until it becomes reality. She crossed her arms. I'll give you one condition. Just one. Anything. Therapy. Both of us. Couples therapy. And you, individual therapy. To learn how to set boundaries, to understand why you chose your mother over me. Without that, there's nothing to talk about. Tyler nodded without hesitation. Yes, of course. Whatever it takes. And in the meantime, she continued, I'm not going back to that apartment. You can stay there or leave, but we live separately. Until a therapist and I see a real change. Not promises. Actions. It was harsh, but it was fair. It was more than he deserved. Okay, he whispered. We'll start looking for a therapist tomorrow. Natalie nodded. Okay. She turned to go back into the club. Then she stopped. Without turning back, she said, The letter from your father. I'm glad you found it. I hope it helps you find your own way. Yours, Tyler. Not hers. She went inside. The door of the club closed behind her, leaving him alone on the sidewalk. She hadn't forgiven him. She hadn't said yes. But she had given him a chance. A very thin thread to hold on to. Tyler breathed in the cold night air. He felt a huge emptiness, the void Natalie had left. But also, for the first time in his adult life, he felt the outline of his own spine. Firm. His own. It was a painful beginning, but a beginning nonetheless. The therapist's office smelled of lavender and stillness. A woman in her 50s with short hair and glasses observed us. Her name was Dr. Michelle. What brings you here today? She asked, her eyes moving from Tyler to me. We want to learn how to be a team, Tyler said before I could speak. His voice was clear. And I need to learn how to set boundaries to protect our space. Dr. Michelle nodded, taking notes. Thus began 6 weeks of exhausting, revealing, sometimes unbearable sessions. Tyler cried when he talked about his father, his fear of disappointing his mother, his terror of being alone. I exploded with rage, the accumulated rage of years of subtle gestures and one gigantic one. We learned to listen without attacking. A little. But therapy was a bubble. Outside, the Cold War continued. Janice had gone from tears to a sepulchral silence. She didn't call, but her presence filtered through relatives. Your mother is very thin. Janice doesn't leave the house. The emotional hammering continued, more subtly. Tyler, in his own way, stood firm. He had rented a small apartment. We lived separately. We saw each other for dinner, for therapy sessions, for walks. It was a strange and painful kind of courtship. He was attentive, respectful, but the shadow of what had happened, of his breach with the bank, of his silence, was long. I can't go back to how it was before, Tyler, I told him one night after a particularly tough session. I need guarantees. Not just from you, from her. I need to know this won't happen again, that at the first Christmas or when we have a child, there won't be a new ultimatum disguised as tradition. He understood. Or so he said. He proposed one last meeting. With conditions, with witnesses, to lay the rules of the game on the table once and for all. I agreed, but I set my own conditions. On neutral ground, with a mediator present, and with a written agreement. The chosen location was the living room of some friends of Tyler, an older couple respected by both families, the Reynolds. Their apartment, large and full of books, smelled of old peace. When we arrived, they were already there, the Reynolds, he a retired lawyer, she a professor. Janice, sitting stiffly in an armchair in a dark dress, looked like a widow in perpetual mourning. Beside her, Uncle George, with a somber expression. My parents came from Portland. Their support was my armor. The greetings were icy. Tyler sat next to me, not next to his mother. A small gesture, but one that made Janice purse her lips. Mr. Edward Reynolds took the floor. We are here as friends of the family with the sole desire to help find a path forward. The pain is already done. This is about not creating more. Would you like to begin? My father spoke first. Calmly. He laid out the facts. The request at the wedding, the intrusion, the damage caused. He didn't accuse. He described. Janice stared at the floor, her hands clasped. When my father finished, Uncle George cleared his throat. Those are facts, yes, but there are also feelings, traditions. My sister acted out of love, out of fear that her family would fall apart. Her method was unfortunate, but the intention was good. The road to trouble is paved with good intentions, George, my mother said in her soft doctor's voice. The result was poisoning the happiness of two people. That is what needs to be healed. Tyler took a breath. Everyone looked at him. It was the moment. Mom, he said, and his voice only trembled a little. I love you. But what you did was wrong. Very wrong. It wasn't unfortunate. Crossed a serious line. And you made me complicit in that by not defending myself, by not defending my wife. That is over. Janice looked up, her eyes shining with contained rage. He's brainwashed you, son. This therapy, they've turned you against your own blood. Natalie is my blood now, Mom, he replied firmly. By choice. By love. And if you want to continue to be a part of my life, there are new rules. She turned pale. Rules? For your mother? Yes. Tyler took a piece of paper from his pocket. He had prepared it with me, with Mr. Reynolds's advice. They are these. First, Natalie and I are a unit. Decisions about our money, our home, our life are ours alone. We will not give explanations. We will not ask for permission. Janice made a gesture of contempt. Second, we will not live under the same roof or in the same neighborhood. We will visit with a frequency that we decide. Third, there will be no more comments about our lifestyle, Natalie's job, or how we manage our home. Fourth, if we ever have children, the decisions about their upbringing, education, and values will be exclusively ours. You will be the grandmother, not a second mother. Each point was a lash. Janice was trembling. Uncle George tried to intervene. Tyler, son, that's very harsh. It's necessary, Uncle, Tyler cut him off. And there's a fifth point. He looked directly at his mother. You need to apologize, truly apologize to Natalie. For the wedding, for the messages, for everything. Without that apology, without acknowledging that what you did was out of line, our relationship will be limited to birthday and Christmas calls. Nothing more. The silence was total. You could hear the ticking of a wall clock. Janice looked on the verge of an attack. She looked at her son as if he were a stranger. Then her gaze, full of resentment, landed on me. This is what you wanted, she spat, forgetting everyone else. To destroy my family, take my son, humiliate me to this point. I stood up. I was not going to let her make me the villain again. I haven't taken anything from you, Janice. He is not a possession. And the only humiliation here was the one you planned for me at my own wedding. What Tyler is asking for is not humiliation, it's basic respect. Something you have never given me. Respect is earned, she shouted, losing the last vestiges of control. And it's lost, I retorted, raising my voice to match hers. You lost all of it with me when you opened your mouth to ask for my money. What's happening here is not my revenge. It's my survival, and your son's survival as a man. Do you prefer to have a submissive, lonely son, or a happy, adult son whom you can see on his own terms? My words, hard as stones, hung in the air. Janice panted, defeated. She looked at her brother George for support, but for the first time he looked down. Even he could see the tide had turned. She looked at Tyler. Is this final, son? Tyler nodded sadly but without wavering. Yes, Mom. It's final. I love you, but my life with Natalie is this or it isn't. Janice closed her eyes. A single tear slid down her cheek. It wasn't for show this time. It was one of defeat, of the bitter understanding that she had lost. She had lost control over her son, and with it the battle. A long eternal minute passed. We all held our breath. Finally she opened her eyes. They were red but dry. She looked at me, not at my face but at a point just over my shoulder. The words cost her a physical effort, as if she were tearing them from her gut. Natalie, she began and cleared her throat. The thing at the wedding was a mistake. I shouldn't have said it like that. It was inappropriate. It wasn't a full apology. It didn't acknowledge the full extent, only the tactical error. But it was something. It was more than I ever thought I would get. I waited. She swallowed. And what came after the messages? I shouldn't have done that either. She took an endless pause. I apologize. The last words were a hoarse whisper, but they were heard. I looked at Tyler. He looked at me with a question in his eyes. Was it enough? For him, maybe not. For me, knowing what that sentence cost her, it was a monument. It was the limit of her capacity. Accepting it meant accepting that I would never have the loving mother-in-law from the fairy tales. It meant settling for an uncomfortable truce, based on the fear of losing her son, not on affection for me. It was little, but it was real. And in this fight, what was real was worth more than any fantasy. I nodded slowly. I accept your apology, Janice. I paused. And I hope that, in time, we can build a different relationship. But one based on the respect you have begun to show today. She said nothing, just gave a single sharp nod. Mr. Edward Reynolds let out a sigh of relief. Good. It's a start. Do you then accept the terms Tyler has laid out as a basis for moving forward? I accept, I said. Everyone looked at Janice. She looked at Tyler, searching for one last glimmer of weakness. She didn't find it. She lowered her head in a gesture of assent. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. It will be taken as accepted, Mr. Edward Reynolds said. And I trust we will all honor this new space for the good of Tyler and Natalie. The meeting ended shortly after. The farewells were even colder than the greetings. My parents hugged me, whispering in my ear how proud they were. Uncle George left with Janice, taking her by the arm like an invalid. Tyler and I were the last ones left with the Reynolds. It was hard, said Mrs. Reynolds, the wife, but it was necessary. Now you build. We went out to the street. It was already dark. Tyler turned to me. Are you okay? I don't know, I answered honestly, but I feel lighter. I looked toward where his mother had gone. She doesn't like me, Tyler. And maybe she never will. I know, he said in a low voice. But at least she'll respect you. Or it will cost her dearly not to. It's what I can offer you. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, I said, and for the first time I smiled at him. A small tired gesture. Because you did what had to be done. Even though it hurt like therapy, he murmured, trying to return the smile. We walked in silence to my car, Rachel's car. Before I got in, he stopped. And the move? The transfer? I thought for a moment. No, we don't need to leave. We're here. We build our space ourselves wherever we are. But the therapy continues. The relief on his face was palpable. Yes, of course. The therapy continues. I got in the car. I drove back to Rachel's apartment with a blank mind. I hadn't won. She hadn't won. Tyler maybe had won a piece of himself. And I had won a precarious peace treaty and the certainty that this time, I wasn't alone in the trench. It was little. But after the fight, any peace, no matter how uncomfortable, tasted like victory. The alarm went off at 7. It wasn't my phone's but a new one of those that simulates the dawn. A soft light gradually illuminated the room. I turned over. Tyler was sleeping beside me, his face buried in the pillow. I took a deep breath. The air in our new apartment smelled of freshly brewed coffee from the programmable machine and dry paint. We had been living here for 3 months. It wasn't the modern place from before. It was smaller, cozier, in a less central neighborhood, and it was just ours. I got up quietly. In the kitchen, I prepared 2 mugs. Mine black. Tyler's with milk. On the fridge, a magnet held a piece of paper. The rules for our joint account. 60% of shared expenses, mortgage, utilities, food came from there. We each contributed a percentage of our salary. The rest was sacred, untouchable. Is mine. Tyler appeared, his hair disheveled. Morning, he murmured and gave me a kiss on the cheek. A new tender habit that still surprised me. Morning. Coffee's ready. Thanks. He sat down. Session at 8 today, right? Yep. Video call. Dr. Michelle has an opening. He nodded. Therapy continued once a month. Now it wasn't for putting out fires but for learning to build on the ashes. We talked about fears, expectations, about how to be a team without melting into one another. Tyler learned to express what he wanted, not what his mother or I might want to hear. I learned to let my guard down millimeter by millimeter. His phone rang. On the screen the name Mom. Not Janice as I had her saved. He looked at it, let it ring 3 times, then picked it up. Hi Mom, yes, we're fine at 2. Okay, we'll be there, yes, she's coming to see you then. He hung up. He looked at me. Lunch at her house. At 2. It was the first lunch at her house since the wedding. We had met a couple of times outside in neutral restaurants. Short conversations about the weather, a distant cousin. Superficial, safe. This was different. Venturing into her territory. Are you sure? He asked, seeing my expression. No, I said honestly. But we have to do it sometime. At 2 o'clock sharp, we rang the doorbell of the house in Evanston. The same smell of old mahogany and the past. Janice opened the door. She was wearing a simple dress. She didn't smile, but she didn't frown. Come in, she said dryly. The lunch was proper. A soup, a baked fish, some fruit. Janice asked about Tyler's work. Then after a silence she said, And yours, Natalie? Is it still going well? The computer stuff. It was clumsy, forced, but it was an attempt. Yes, Janice, it's going well. Thanks for asking. She nodded. Another silence. Tyler talked about the apartment, how much they liked the neighborhood. Janice listened. She didn't make any comments about the size, the price, the decor. She was literally biting her tongue at times, and it showed. It was like watching a caged tiger, but the cage was made of her own son's rules. When she served the coffee, Janice set the cup down in front of me with a thud. Then suddenly she spoke without looking at me. That vase you brought as a wedding gift. The blue one. Fell. It broke. It was the vase my parents had given us, an object of no great value but symbolic. I looked at Tyler. He tensed his jaw. Oh, what a shame, I said neutrally. She nodded, staring at her cup. Yes. It was an accident. She took a long, awkward pause. Then she added, almost in a whisper, It was a pity. It was beautiful. She didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't say, It was an accident. But it was a pity and it was beautiful were, in her coded language, an acknowledgement. A small mourning for something she herself had broken, one way or another. Tyler breathed a sigh of relief. Well, these things happen, Mom. We finished our coffee. The conversation didn't flow, but there were no attacks, no reproaches. It was a minefield where we all stepped carefully, and nothing exploded. As we said goodbye at the door, Janice looked at Tyler. Take care, son. Then her gaze passed over me. It stopped for a moment. There was no warmth, but there was no ice either. There was a resigned acceptance. A truce. Goodbye, Natalie. Goodbye, Janice. We went out into the suburban street, into the blazing sun. We walked in silence to the car. As he started it, Tyler let out a deep sigh. That went well, he said. It was tolerable, I corrected. It's a start. Yes, a start. Back in the city on the drive, I looked out the window. The expressway passed in a green blur. I didn't feel joy, I didn't feel victory. I felt a huge but clean fatigue, like after a long hard hike. I had arrived at a new place. It wasn't the paradise I had imagined. It was an arid landscape, but stable, with clear rules, with borders. Tyler was dozing beside me, his head resting on the glass. He was no longer the man I had chosen, nor the boy I had found. He was someone under construction. And so was I. We arrived at our apartment at dusk. While Tyler unpacked, I went out onto the small balcony. Our street was quiet. I could hear some children playing in the distance, the murmur of a television from a neighboring apartment. My phone vibrated. It was a message from my sister, Haley. Haley, so? Did you survive the lunch? I smiled. We survived. There was even a veiled acknowledgement of the loss of the blue vase. I think it's her way of making peace. Haley, so intense. Well, better than nothing. And Tyler? Me holding his own. Like me. Haley. I'm glad. Love you guys. Come to Portland soon. I put the phone away. Tyler came out onto the balcony, placing a jacket over my shoulders. It's a little cold. He leaned on the railing next to me. We weren't touching, just standing there looking at our street, our night. It's not what I imagined, he said suddenly. Me neither. Do you regret it? The question came out in a whisper, loaded with all the fear he still carried inside. I turned to look at him. In his eyes, I didn't see the coward from the wedding. I saw the man who had canceled the card, who had faced his mother, who went to therapy every week even though it terrified him. I saw someone who was fighting just like me. No, I said. And this time it was completely true. I don't regret it. This is what it is. It's real. And it's ours. He nodded, and a little of the tension left his shoulders. Ours, he repeated as if testing the word. We went inside, closing the door to the balcony and the cold. Inside the light was warm. There were bills to pay on the table. The fridge was making a weird noise, and next month's therapy session was already scheduled. It wasn't a happy ending. It was just another morning in just another life that we had won through sheer effort, scars and all. And for now, with the sound of the taps of my own rhythm still echoing inside me, it was enough. More than enough. It was mine. Did you enjoy this story? Leave a comment and hit the subscribe button to support the channel. More tales are on the way.